I'm sorry, Mayoni. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, and Iridia. If you would like to share a little bit about maybe to piggyback off of what Yvonne had shared or just what you had shared in regards to that.
Okay. Yeah, so our group, we're basically speaking on our experiences just as Black students in general, and just navigating through academia, because our group was Black women and women of color. So just dealing with misogynoir and dealing with different forms of discrimination just in general, and seeing how Black Lives Matter for us was more empowering in the sense that it reminded us that we have a place and that our voices matter, our minds matter, and that we all have something to contribute to this world and that all of our gifts has a place. And it's just reminding us that even though people have their perceptions and have their views on Black people, specifically Black women, that we all still matter. So yeah.
Thank you, Cody. And I think that really, oh, Aisha, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, you can go ahead, Ariel, and then I'll go after. No, I just wanted to also add to that because I really thought that was like kind of the same thing that was going on in my head when I thought of the question. And one thing I wanted to add in addition to that is also when I hear it or when I think of that the movement or how it empowers me, I also think that it means that like your dream as a Black person matters. So whatever your aspirations are, because normally we can think about it, and look at the macro ways that this is important. But if you look at just yourself, like as an individual, as a Black person, wherever you show up in the world, whatever dreams or aspirations you may have, that mattering is also in line with, activism. When you believe your dreams matter, and even if the world doesn't, I think that that's like one of the largest forms of activism. So I just wanted to add that into there as well.
Thank you, Aisha. And actually, because you're talking about activism and our affirmations and everything, I do want to get into another question. So basically, what does activism look like for you all? And I'll hop over to Roshan's group. If you have gotten to this, or if you all wanted just to share what activism looks like for you as a student, maybe as a community college student, or just as like a being Black and just in general. So I'll hop over to Roshan, Seela, Alexis, Nadia, and Amber's group.
Yep, thank you so much, Ariel. So we had so much to talk about in such little time, but I feel like we did touch on a good amount of things. I do just want to backtrack to one point that Aisha mentioned, is just the fact that, a lot of times we trying to dream, we know however, it's hard to dream when you don't really have people around you that's trying to uplift you and show you are beyond yourself. I know a lot of, the scholars in our breakout session today, they mentioned that, they have a lot of people from that background who's not really uplifting them in a sense, or people around them that's saying, oh, it's impossible to get into the university. As for example, I believe one of us mentioned an engineering major, and it's like you're trying to dream big and see something outside of your norm. However, you have people in your society, in your bubble, who's still trying to keep you in that bubble when you're trying to dream outside the box. So I feel like as an African-American student, feel like you could try to dream big and we have to dream big, but I feel like sometimes our dreams are like limited or tarnished based on our background telling us what's not possible, and they didn't even give it a shot. Like I always crack the funny joke where people like, oh, you're going to college, you're going to be in debt forever. And I'm like, did you go to college? Do you know about financial aid? Do you know and it's like, you got somebody discouraging you to go a certain route and they never even gave it a shot to see what resources are actually available to you. I spoke a lot about the UC Blue and Gold scholarship and how I didn't even think I could afford UCLA, being from a low income background, being from Compton, single parent household. My mom could barely afford to pay my phone bill. How the heck is she going to pay my tuition? Like if I would have let people from my background stop me from trying to look into this, or if I never would have visited UCLA to find out what I qualified for, I would have never went if I would have allowed people from my background to kind of get in my head and me not sticking in my own head. So if I could speak on behalf of my entire group, and please feel free to chime in, anyone, but I just feel like trying to uplift ourselves when no one around us is to uplift us, I feel like it's just a critical thing, especially being African-American students.
Yes, I do agree. Especially, I wouldn't say in my household, but there's like this aura around it where it's like, if you want to dream big, that's going to cost you. And why are you trying to in the first place? Why are you trying to like actually get out there, especially when you're doing something different, not like the typical job either, and you're trying to do something that you're actually passionate about? There's like that lack of encouragement, but it's like you also have to support yourself. And then that's when you try to gain a circle of friends and people around you, a community that actually want to support you for who you are and what you like. And you want to try to support them the same way as they support you as well, you know?
Yes, and that's such a very strong point, Alexis. And there's one thing that you said that I really resonated with me: community. I was also sharing, with the students that when I attended a university, I never had friends at the university level until I transferred to the university. Like, I never really had people to share with me those experiences. It literally took for me to transfer to UCLA to meet somebody that attended UCLA. It took for me to transfer to a university to meet people at the university level, because I didn't have people from my background who went that route. However, when you do have that connection with community, you see like, oh, this person looked just like me and we all trying to do the same thing. I feel like joining CCCP at UCLA was one of the best decisions I ever made. And it was actually the only program that I joined. I think when I was in my first year at UCLA, I'm like, I need to focus on these classes. I can't even afford to join a community. I barely got time to study. So when I got to my second year at UCLA, mind you, that's not the case. Join a community from the jump. But it wasn't until I got to my second year at UCLA to where I'm like, okay, I passed all my classes the first time around. Now let me try to find a community. Lo and behold, I found UCLA CCCP, and it was just crazy to see that UCLA had a community on campus that's specifically for community college students. Here I am attending community college, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad for going to community college. Everybody went straight to the university. And then I transferred to UCLA, and there's a program there that's dedicated specifically for transfer students. I just never would have thought that, and then mind you, UCLA, they hired me to become a peer mentor at Compton College. I'm like, how the heck did I go to UCLA? And then I got hired at Compton College from UCLA. It was just crazy. The connection, the community, and how the rivers flow is just crazy. So I just want to say the community is real, and I just so love CCCP. I give my heart and my life to y'all. So thank y'all for the community, and it is very important. So I encourage you all to find a community, because sometimes we don't have that in our family. We don't have that in our friend groups. So to find that community, we can have that motivation, and you will see like, oh, I'm not the only one that's applying as a transfer student, as an engineer. It's not really as foreign as it seemed to me based on what I've been exposed to. So much information there. So really honored to be in the space.
Thank you, Rashawn. Thank you, Alexis. And Aisha, before we get to your point, do you want to cover some of the other folks that might not have been able to speak? But I think I really like what you both had mentioned, like not being able to navigate that, or hearing from other people or people from our backgrounds like, oh no, you can't, or whatever. But I think the other thing is like, also it's difficult, but also making sure that we don't making sure we're not putting that onus on us. A lot of this stuff is like being put on us, and a lot of stuff is just internalized. And that's why we're talking about like these systems of oppression, this white supremacy, these white dominated spaces. It can be internalized, which is also a reason why it's like, oh, you might want to go down this route, not the other route, or whatever. So I think it's really important to tackle that. And that does lead me into the next question. If there are not any Black affirming spaces and you could create them, what would they look like and what would they feel like? And I think that just for time's sake, we might have this as our last question, but I wanted to open this up to the folks in Julie, Pearl, and Diamond's group. So if Julie, your group could start. So that's Julie, Jimo, Joyce, Kalima, and Victoria.
I'll go. So something that I talked about in the group was that I originally went to an HBCU. I went to Howard, and I had to leave for health reasons. And so when I think about, and then I'm in community college, but it's been exclusively online. So when I think about being or affirming spaces and creating them and what that would look like, currently I'm at work, and I work at the University of Southern California. So I'm just very white space. It would look, I think in the group I talked about like sharing burdens and how that makes things feel lighter and it makes things feel easier. And so I think where I'm at in my life now, an affirming space looks like ease. It looks like understanding. It looks like support. Because I think just like Rashawn was saying about how like he didn't even know about some of the resources. It's like no matter where you started, even if you like went from high school straight to a 4-year college or went straight to community college or to have a gap year, there's always something that I think you just don't know what you don't know. Like, you don't know what you're missing. You just like, there's things that I look back on my time at Howard and I'm like, how did I not know that? Like, how did I not know who to ask? And I still don't know the answers, honestly. So it looks like a place where people can share information and none of that feels like a secret. It feels open.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kalima. And yes, that is most definitely important. So I'm happy that y'all are here because we're going to be sharing, we're going to be dropping knowledge, we're going to be dropping gems. We already have been. So thank you. Next, I want to hop quickly over to Pearl's group. So Pearl, Sharif, Shavar, Zaniev. One person can briefly speak.
I'm just gonna go because we didn't get to that question. I was looking at the timer and it was like 12 minutes and it was counting down to 60 seconds. But we did talk about affirming spaces within like our community colleges. And one of the students talked about like a professor who's just like has been like his rock, he's his professor, and at the same time like he goes to his office hours and they talk about like everything from politics to race to everything about the class and everything outside of that. And then another student talked about Ujima, which is kind of like Umoja. And I talked about my own Umoja experience. And we just like agreed how important it is for us to have like our community, have our own space, and having like all these resources. Like for us for Umoja now, like you have resources to like financial aid, how to access financial aid, how to go around it, counselors, maybe if you're facing housing insecurities, at least my Umoja at Laney College, students who face housing insecurities, you could come there, we would find a way to help you out. For the students who couldn't get food, just like lots of personal things. And we just all collectively agreed that it's important to find your person or find your people and find your space. And it just gives you strength, and it just gives you also like, you know, the zeal to keep going, to know that you're not the only one going through this whole journey, this whole academic journey, and we're all figuring it out together. So that's what we kind of discussed. But if anyone wants to add something else in the group, please feel free.
All right. Thank you, Pearl. And shout out to all the folks in Umoja. We have a lot of Umoja folks in the building. We have some co-chairs, former co-chairs in the building too, over at UCLA and over at their CC. So shout out to all of y'all. And then my last question, this one is going to be for Diamond's group. I'm looking at my questions and misreading them. So are there any Black affirming spaces or people that are on your campuses? And if so, why do you feel that they are affirming?
Yeah, so I can just go for my group, but in my group, basically we were talking about Umoja too. And to sum it up, at my community college, it's a very, very predominantly white school, meaning like they still ride horses over there. That's how like white it is over there. And so in Umoja at my community college, I was an elder, and we always had like meetings with the president, and he wanted to try to make the school like more diverse and have like a Black building kind of place. And we talked about how a Black affirming space would be like how like have a whole Black room or a room for Black students, Umoja students, have Black art. We did talk about like a mural. And then I also talked about how at UCLA in the the AFAM building, there was like a room you can sit in and just hang out, sleep, study, anything. And I always felt comfortable sitting in there. Like in between classes, I would go there. So that was a very like Black affirming group for me. And then, yeah, just Umoja in general, both at my CC and UCLA, because like, in my opinion, it's a second family to me. So that's always like a Black affirming place I can go to if I ever want to feel comfortable.
Yes. Thank you, Diamond. Yeah, I think it's so powerful to be able to have those spaces on campus where you really see yourself, and not even just like having just a specific building in one little office. Because, you know, a lot of times when they have programs for us, we get a tiny little office. So not even just having a tiny little office, but being able to see us like seeing quotes from us, seeing our folks like pictures of ourselves, seeing like a lot of offices for ourselves, seeing graduations and everything that are tailored to us. Over at UCLA, for example, we have our Afro grad. I think that Pearl or put in the chat the Black Bruin Resource Center. So we just got a Black Bruin Resource Center, and that was advocated and fought for by all of our wonderful Black Bruins. So a lot of this work is done because of you all, done because of us, done because of a lot of people that are on this call. So I think that really is important. But I think that this was a really great conversation. Obviously, it's hard to have these conversations in limited time because there's so much that we can go on about, and for a really, really long time. But I just really appreciate every single one of our facilitators. So I just want to thank Aisha, Julie, Diamond, Cody, Pearl, Roshan. It was just wonderful and beautiful to be here in this space with you all, to see all of you back here, all my buddies and everyone. So I'm so happy that y'all are here. And thank you to everyone, all of the students, scholars that are on the call. Thank you for also leading those conversations in the breakout rooms. We are going to transition over. So I think, unless anyone has anything closing to say, before we transition.
I just wanted, as we transition real quick, I just wanted to say thank you again. Like I said earlier, like I think one of the ways that we build community is by being in these positions, to be able to be like, yo, I want all my dope friends to be able to come back and continue to do this work. And so it's a privilege for me to be like, I feel like I'm the OG in the room. It's like Miss Lena and then me, and like I get to see the fruits of the work that we've been doing and building, and to be able to pass the baton right onto all of you. Not that I'm going anywhere, but to be able to continue to pass the baton and just be able to be like, yo, Roshan, yo, Aisha, come through, like Josh, come through, come do this stuff, to be able to talk to students. And this is one of the ways that we build community. So I'm over here just like proud mama, over here, proud auntie over here, just, you know, yeah. So I love this space.
Right. And I'm one of the proud babies, so I'm happy to be here. Always happy to be in the space. It's always hard to lead, right? So yeah, the community for sure. Honored to be here. Y'all always hit me with the invite. I'm here.
The same. Thank you so much for having me. And the one thing I just wanted to add before we leave, if I can, Ariel, because I know you guys are scheduling properly. Okay.
Yeah,
I like the fact that you guys are being punctual and everything with the time. I wanted to add this based in response to what Alexis mentioned. I think it was Alexis who talked about community, or the cost of going after your dreams. And that kind of stuck in my head. And I was like, it could cost you everything. That's the truth. It could cost you your comfort. It could cost you your family, your friends, everything that you knew. But I think you have to push and put yourself in that uncomfortable position to achieve your dreams. And then you will find yourself in a community that you are privileged and honored to be a part of, because you fought to be in that space. That was very much what it was like when I got into UCLA and was able to experience CCCP as a community. It felt like I was being honored, and it was a privilege. So I think it could cost you a lot. I just wanted to share that with you all, but don't be afraid of what it can cost you, because the gains and the riches that come after the struggle are so much more than everything that you're thinking you're going to lose. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Aisha. And y'all got lots of powerful people in here. Get connected with them. Get connected with the folks that you're in a facilitated breakout room with, because they all went through it too, and they're here for you. They're here to support. And these are the folks that they had even been mentioning before, like you looking for those support systems, looking for people who motivate you. These are some of the folks. We're the folks, so get connected with us. But okay, I'm gonna hand this off over to Kalia. I think Kalia is going to announce something. But again, thank y'all for the breakout rooms, and hope you have a great day. But Kalia.
Really quick, I'm so sorry. I know I'm that person right now. If our facilitators are comfortable sharing their contact information in the chat, if you all would be so kind to do that. And if you're not, that's cool too. But and also if you're cool with us sharing your contact information when we send out our evaluation emails later on, drop me a line and let me know so that folks can stay connected and we can continue to build this community. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now.
Okay, so before we go on break, I just want to let y'all know we have a raffle, and some of the few lucky people in here will win some nice, sweet brewing gear. So stay tuned at the end of this webinar. That's all I have to let y'all know.
Thank you, Kalia. All right, so we are gonna go on break, so you can feel free to stay with us or whatever. A few of our committee, we are going to still remain on the call, but we're gonna just be playing some slides with a lot of resources and information, gonna be playing some music. But if you have any questions or anything, again, we'll be here on the call. But if you need to leave, you can take a step away. You can go take a break, go get water, eat something, take like a 20-minute nap. I don't know, but we'll be back at around 12:30. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Better wake up because you're part of something way bigger.